Hey guys, welcome to week 5 power rankings. We're going to be trying it a little different. We're going to be doing with these video styles, hopefully for the now and the future. If this goes well, just think this is easier for me or Charlie, whoever is doing the power rankings for the week, because I know we're both busy now and everyone else is busy with school and whatever else going on. So I'm going to try and do it this way. So we're just going to get right into it. Week 5 power rankings. Anthony, you are still in the bottom spot. He had not a good week. Again, 422 points, just not going to do it. Worst in the league this week by far. Just not much to say about this team. That just hurt a lot of underperformances, a lot of just not good drafting. Anthony, fun fact, actually has the most moves made in the league. I believe he has 19, which is more than anyone else. So he is trying. I'll give him that. But just not much else going on for him here. Rough season for him. Next is Zach. And let me just say that Zach and Anthony are by far the worst two teams in the league. It's not even close. Zach put up 543 points this week. As you guys can see, those two scores are less by almost 200 points than everyone else. We'll see what we got going on with Zach's team here. Zach has told me repeatedly that his team is not good due to the fact that he didn't know this was a keeper league. I don't know how that's possible, stating that we said that about 500 times. But even so, that shouldn't affect how good your team is in year one. A lot of not good drafting, a lot of underperformances. Kyrie, when he decides to play, been really good. LeBron doing his usual thing. John Wall doing all right. The rest of this team, though, just underperformances. He did end up trading away to Danny. He traded away Shai to Danny for Donovan Mitchell and Al Horford, and then proceeded to drop Al Horford. So basically swapped Shai for Donovan Mitchell. Not really sure what he was thinking there, even though Donovan Mitchell, as of late, has been better, but still not a good trade for his team. Not that it would really matter, because one player can't change this monstrosity of a team that he's got going on here. So that's that for Anthony and Zach. Tim, bit of a surprise to see you at the bottom here. Tim is notorious for being very good at fantasy sports, but his team has just not been performing too well this year. As you can see, he put up 745 points this week. Tim's got a young team. They were looking really good early in the year. First week, I believe he got a win. Let me check if I'm right on that. Or maybe it was the second week. Yes, he did put up 858 points in the second week. Has not won since then. Having a bit of a rough go of it. Let's see what's going wrong here for Tim's team. Trae Young, day-to-day here. Been really solid for him, but not enough to do it. Marcus Smart, not great. Siakam, 22.6 is pretty solid. But I believe they've had a lot of cancellations, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong about that. Nope, not a lot of cancellations, just not great play. Michael Porter Jr., good player, might be one of Tim's keepers. Christian Wood having a crazy good year, 30 points a game. John Collins, pretty good. Just the thing with fantasy basketball is a lot of you guys are going to have a lot of good players. It's just little differences in, if one player is averaging 15, another guy's averaging 18, it makes a lot bigger of a difference than it seems. Never got to address this, but Tim did fleece all of us by grabbing Klay Thompson in the last round, as this is a keeper league, so if he wants to, he can keep Klay Thompson for the future. So that was a really solid pick in the last round. Other than that, though, another loss for Tim, 1-4. Got to try and right the ship there. Next up, we got Tyler. Tyler, I believe, took a loss this week. Let's check here. This thing wants to work. Sorry about this. All right, here we go. So Tyler did take a loss, put up 767, so it would have been good enough to beat a couple of winners this week. It would have been good enough to beat Dean, who we'll talk about later. Actually, the only one he would have beat if he had played him. Tyler definitely has gotten lucky with the Julius Randle pick. He's been playing out of his mind this year, so that has definitely helped out his team, helped him get 2 wins. Because other than that, Tyler's team, he does have Lillard and Levine, who have been really good, and Ben Simmons, very solid pick, and Vucevic, playing like one of the best players in the league. As you can see, he's the number 2 position rank, getting 23 and 11. Really solid year for Vucevic. Jaylen Brown been really good when he's been on the court. Other than that, though, like I said, again, you're going to have a lot of good players. Just sometimes it doesn't go your way, and that's why Tyler's 2-3. A lot of these other players have been either hurt or they've just been underperforming. That's why Tyler's 2-3 and in the 9 spot for the power rankings. A lot of you guys in this middle area over here, it's been kind of tough to rank you guys because the middle, it seems like there's a very solid bottom. So like Zach and Anthony have been in the bottom 2 every single week pretty much. And then there's that whole middle section from like 10 down to like around where the 5 spot is, where all of you guys are really close. It's really hard to rank you. So if you're in the 10 spot and you think you should be in the 5 spot, or you're in the 5 spot and maybe some other people think you should be around the 8 or 9, just know you're all like really, really close. It could go any way. The top 4 has really been around the same for most of this, but I'll get into Matt's team a little bit here. So Matt did pick up a win this week, putting up just under 800 points. So not a bad week, not a great week. He did have Harden in his first week in his new colors. Had a really solid week. Matt really didn't need to do much. He probably could have benched his starters like half the week, and he still would have beaten Anthony. It's unfortunate for Anthony, but it is what it is. Let's take a closer look at Matt's team here. So Matt got Harden, really solid player. Van Vliet, been really good for a role player on his team. Mitchell Robinson getting 20 a game, solid. Paul Millsap, not great, but getting some decent points. Zion been really good. Rayshawn Holmes been lots better than a lot of us probably would have thought. Matt took him in the 10th round, playing at the 10th position rank right now, so really good pick by Matt. Jarrett Allen, even with the trade, now him being in Cleveland, I believe, splitting time with Andre Drummond, he's still getting decent production, but I would monitor that a little bit closely. If I were Matt, maybe try and trade him. Not sure what his minutes and production will be like going forward in the new team there. Bam, also, I know the Heat have had some COVID issues, but he's remained on the court, and he's just, 48 points in this last game. That's crazy. He's having a really good week here, a really good season. Rest of these guys, though, down here, can't say much for them. Matt has had some really good weeks, some really not good weeks. This week, he just happened to play a really bad opponent. Probably would have lost to a good amount of people this week, but can only play who's on your schedule. So Matt does pick up a win this week. Next up is Sam. Sam, I don't understand. His team in every fantasy sport, fantasy football this year, he was the hardest team ever to rank because he would have one week where he would go absolutely off, and then the next week he would be one of the worst teams in the league. So I don't know what to do with that. That's why he's in the middle here because, again, he had one of the best weeks this week. Ayton and Capella, insane as you guys can see. Capella was the biggest boom of the week. Put up a triple-double with blocks one game, which is crazy. I mean, look at these numbers in the last 4 games. That's insane. Ayton even put up more than him. We expect a little bit more out of Ayton, though. That's why he was why Capella was the boom of the week. But still, crazy numbers for Ayton, and centers we know are extremely valuable in this league. They don't really miss a lot of shots usually, so that's why they don't lose a lot of points on those missed shots. So that's why they're able to put up more points usually than smaller guys that shoot more. KD, 35 a game, not really slowing down from that injury at all. DeRozan was off to a scorching hot start this year, and he's cooled down a little bit since, but he's still putting up decent production for Sam, a good role player. Oladipo, since the trade, how's he been doing? 6 points the last game in 35 minutes, not really going to do it, but 24 and 31 are solid. So if Sam can get that kind of production out of him more often than the 6, his team will obviously keep doing well. Ayton, Capella, Caris LeVert down here, all very solid. Westbrook, who I didn't even talk about, as most of you guys know, is one of my favorite players in the league, and it's very good for fantasy, even though he's only got 200 points on the year, but he's still averaging 25, I think that says. So he's been having a really solid year when Washington plays, because they've had, so many cancellations with COVID, and don't I know it because I have Beal. But that's really what's going on with Sam's team there. Very tough team to rank, but for now, he's right around the middle. Dean is up next. So Dean did get a win this week, but he did score the least amount of points of a winning team this week. So it was a little surprising, too, because he did play one of the best teams in the league in Charlie, who we'll talk about why that happened later. But Dean's team put up 730 points this week. Not great, but he does get a win. That's why he did drop, though, because he didn't put up a lot of points, and there's no defense in fantasy, so that's why we rate you on how many points you score usually. Devontae Graham, 15 points a game, not bad, but could be a little bit better. Malcolm Brogdon was off to a really hot start this year. He's still 5th position ranked, but he's definitely slowed down, as you can see. Doug McDermott, I don't understand why he's in his starting lineup, but that's that for now. Serge Ibaka, 17 points a game, not terrible. Colin Sexton, been very good to start the year. 40 points you can see over here. That was, I believe he did pick him in the 8th round. So that was a good pick by Dean there. Drummond, been very good even after the acquisition of Jared Allen. 37. He did have 2 bad games, but 37 points is enough to carry those other 2 games. De'Aaron Fox, who I like a lot as a player, 20 points a game. Not great, but very good for a utility player where he has him right now. Anthony Davis, obviously a superstar in the league, very good player. Jeremy Grant has been the surprise player of the year so far. Dean picked him in the 7th round. I never would have thought this guy would have been averaging 25 a game, but obviously Dean saw something and he was right. Jeremy Grant's been amazing. Definitely helped Dean's team out a lot. Ja Morant, unfortunately for him, been out for a while. And he had 1 game where he came back, I think, here. 2 games he came back, and now he's been hurt again. Or no, he hasn't been hurt, actually. He's had COVID issues, the Grizzlies. So that's that for Ja Morant. Definitely hurting his team that he hasn't had him, as he's a great player. But that's that for Dean's team. 4-1, looking good right now, but got to get healthy. And as you can see, all these red. And maybe he needs to make a move for a forward, but that's just my opinion. So we're going to move on. Next up is Danny. Danny is tied for the biggest riser this week with Sam. Danny did not have a good start to the year, and trust me, if you were in the fantasy football league this year, you are scared at the fact of Danny rising because he was the 11th seed. I ranked him in the power rankings 11th, and he ended up going to the championship game. And I do not like to see that, but let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into Danny's team. He put up 884 points this week. That is the most in the league this week. He got Porzingis back recently, who I'm going to talk about right here. So he's got Chris Paul, good point guard, old, but he's getting it. He probably won't keep him. Actually, he definitely won't because I can see his 3 keepers here. Shea, good trade for Danny that he made. Very solid, trading away Donovan Mitchell for him. Giannis, obviously superstar. Porzingis started the year hurt and not doing a lot for him, obviously being hurt. And now look at the numbers that he's putting up. Definitely one of the biggest reasons that Danny's team has been taking off. Lonzo Ball, for those of you that may not have seen it, Danny and I did make a trade. He traded me RJ Barrett for Lonzo Ball straight up. He claimed that he didn't know that he offered me that trade. I don't know how that's possible that you don't know that you offer someone a trade. But so it be. For Danny, he has Lonzo. I have RJ. Not going to hurt his team too much probably in the long run. But Fournier just came back from injury, putting up pretty decent numbers. Good role player for Danny. Kawhi, as me and Charlie have both said in the past, better player in real life than he is in fantasy. But he's definitely been proving us both wrong recently as he's putting up some crazy numbers. Definitely one of the reasons Danny's team is doing well. Alec Burks also just coming back from injury, putting up some pretty good numbers. So Danny's team overall, pretty solid. He just needs to get some more depth going here, as a lot of these 15s, if they were 18s or they were 17s, his team would be probably a win or 2 more. And I know that's hard to do, but if he can swing some good trades or he can pick up some good players, his team could be very good. And this is definitely, Danny should never be counted out in fantasy. So keep an eye out for that team. Biggest riser, tied for the biggest riser of the week, most points of the week. Next up is Jeffrey. Jeffrey had the unfortunate timing of playing me this week. As you can see the score here. Jeffrey and I were both undefeated coming into this game. Obviously, I came out victorious, but this game was a lot closer all week than it would appear. He actually looked to be in control late in this one on Sunday. I texted him. I was not looking great. And then, we'll talk about the rest when we get to my team. But for now, we're going to talk about Jeff's team. So Jeffrey obviously started out the year 4-0. Really solid team, but in the top of the power rankings all year long. He got a really good team. I think we can all see here. Kemba is a great player when he's healthy. He's getting back from it. So I'll give him a little bit of time, and he's going to be a really solid contributor for Jeff's team. Sorry about all the connection issues. Our Wi-Fi here is rather poor. Let's get back to Jeffrey, if I can find him. So Kemba, Terry Rozier had that crazy game. I think we all remember he put up like 50 points or something earlier in the year. Still been okay. 19 points a game. That's a good role player. Paul George definitely let Jeff down yesterday, but other than that, he's having a very good bounce back year after that horrible playoffs that he had last year, getting 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Averaging 4 turnovers, though, is a little bit concerning, but if he's putting up numbers, I don't think Jeff cares about the turnovers. Brandon Ingram started out the year really well. Has slowed down a little bit, but still been solid. Pelicans as a whole have been a little disappointing, but he's definitely still the 8th position ranked, so still a very good player. Nikola Jokic has been the best player in the league this year. Just look at these numbers, 26, 12, and almost 10 a game with 2 steals. I can't stop this guy. I wouldn't trade this guy for anything you offered me. He's been amazing. One of the biggest reasons Jeff's team was 4-0 coming into the week. Garland was a great pickup for Jeff earlier in the year, and now I'm not really sure what happened to him. He's coming off the bench. He just hasn't been as good. Just not doing it there for him anymore. One of the reasons his team has slowed down. OG Anunoby, I was cursing his name yesterday when I was getting nervous about losing because he put up 38. Definitely been a solid player for Jeff's team this year. Other than that, Not a lot going on here except for McCollum, who was hurt this whole week. So that was tough for Jeff. Not sure when he's going to come back. As you guys can read here, he's going to be wearing a walking boot for 4 weeks, so not great news for Jeff. Other than that, this team, not much else going on. Definitely was getting carried by Jokic earlier, but he's got some other good players. Probably going to be in the top half of the power rankings in the league for at least the next couple weeks unless something drastic changes. So we'll keep an eye on Jeff's team, but took the loss for this week. Charlie up next, the biggest disappointment of the week. Not sure what happened. He hasn't had He hasn't had Tatum in a while, which is definitely hurting his team. I feel kind of bad about that. Not much you can do about it, but we're going to take a look at Charlie's team here. He is also 4-0 coming into the week, so there were 3 undefeated teams coming into the week. It was myself, Jeffrey, and Charlie. Jeffrey and Charlie both took losses. So we're going to look at Charlie a little bit closer here. So Charlie's got Tatum, obviously, and I believe he's supposed to come back tonight. Yes, and he is supposed to play tonight. That'll definitely help Charlie out a lot. I know he's been very upset that he's been out for a while. Enes Kanter, very good addition to Charlie's team. Kyle Lowry, been really good. Domantas Sabonis has made defenders look silly all year. Same for Joel Embiid, putting up an MVP-type season. Definitely in the running early in the year. Jonas Valanciunas. Charlie seems to have acquired all the best centers in the league, and would probably be wise to trade one for a point guard. As you can see, he doesn't really have a great one on the roster. He can do what he wants with his team, but that would just be my advice. He's got a lot of good centers, which are definitely valuable. Definitely good trade chips. I know a lot of teams would like to trade for one. Other than that, 13 for Dort. Not really sure why this guy is on a roster in fantasy, but he had one 26-point game, so maybe he can do that more consistently. Markkanen, 19, is what it is for Charlie's team. Took a loss, but he's definitely still a really good team. But for this week, I couldn't place him higher than AJ and myself. So we're going to go to AJ now this week. AJ, where is AJ here? AJ is right here, I'm sorry. 830 points, solid week. AJ has been kind of an underrated team, maybe a little bit this year, but definitely 4-1. Should probably take off the underrated label by now. Definitely has a good team. Booker was averaging like 30 earlier in the year. Slowed down a little bit. He was hurt. So that's that for Booker. Definitely not been amazing, but still a good player. Middleton, who was the star of my fantasy team last year. Amazing player. 26.5 a game. 424 total. Great player. Miles Turner, definitely been really good this year as AJ got him in the 9th round. What a very big steal for him. Steph Curry, 28 points. He's going to do his thing every week. Tobias Harris, 23. 20 and 20 for Gordon and Bridges. This team's got a lot of depth. Montrezl Harrell, 19 a game. This team's got a lot of depth, a lot of good players. That's why he's 4-1, obviously. Even Emmanuel Quickly, I know he's only averaging 10 a game, but he looked insane last night for those of you guys who watched the Knicks game. So he might be propelled into a starting role soon, which would definitely be good for AJ's team. Not good for the rest of the league. But AJ's team right now, the number 2 team in the league, looking really solid. So that brings us to the number 1 team, which I am not biased. I am the undefeated, the only team left undefeated. I'm 5-0. I beat another undefeated team this past week. I have the most points scored in the league. So I don't want to be hearing any of that biased stuff. I do think I have the best team in the league. We're going to take a closer look at my team. I put up 857 points this week, and that was without Beal, except for one game that he played yesterday, who's been amazing. So we're going to take a closer look at my team here. So Luka obviously doing his thing, 34. Beal getting 31 a game. Gordon Hayward was a really solid pick, I think. He's been really, really good for Charlotte, getting really good numbers here. You can see Bobby Portis, who I picked up, been the backup over there, kind of utility big man for Milwaukee, getting some pretty solid numbers, helping my team out a lot. Unfortunately for me, I dropped Tim Hardaway Jr. yesterday for Ricky Rubio because I was worried that I wouldn't win the week, so I was trying to pick up a player last minute, and I didn't realize that the deadline to pick up a player for that day was already passed. So I didn't get Ricky Rubio yesterday, and I still dropped Tim Hardaway Jr. as it went through today. So not a huge deal, but instead I now have Ricky Rubio instead of Tim Hardaway. So if someone wants to pick up Tim Hardaway, go for it. Pretty good player, but not needed on my team. Here's RJ Barrett, been really good for the Knicks, and he plays a lot of minutes, and he's definitely having a breakout year. Misses too many shots, but hopefully he can clean that up and he'll be really good. DeJounte Murray, been really solid. Rudy Gobert, one of the best centers in the league. Malik Beasley, solid pick. DeAndre Hunter was a good pickup. I dropped Kevin Huerter for him, which was a solid acquisition, dropping one Hawk for another. Kevin Love, not sure when he's going to come back. They recently said February would be the soonest they would look at it again. So not great there, but I'll keep him for the long haul. Hopefully he can come back and give some solid minutes. And Drew Holiday also been really good. So that's what's going on this week. Definitely a lot of changes in the power rankings. I try not to fluctuate too much, but the teams have been really up and down this year. So the only consistencies we've had are really me, Jeff, and Charlie, and AJ kind of staying around this top half, and Zach and Anthony holding down the bottom. I don't I don't wish you guys to be at the bottom, but that's just the way it is. So we'll just take a quick look early on in the playoff bracket, the projected playoff bracket. So we have 7 teams make the playoffs in this league. The 1 seed is the only one that gets the bye, and then 6 others. It is the top 2 teams in each division, I believe, and then everyone else. So if you're the top team in your division, you're going to get the 2 seed or the 1 or the 2 seed, and then everyone else just fills in. Doesn't matter what division you're in. So this is what we're looking at here. Right now I have the bye. Some good matchups for the first round as of right now. Outside looking in, we got Tyler and Sam, who no one knows what's going to go on with this team. And then bottom half over here. But early on in the year, so anything can happen. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Should be a good one. So I will hopefully see you guys next week in another video.